Let's get Katie Nolan in here.
Like,
don't feel free to help me while I do the show instead of play defense against it.
It's such a great story, Baker Mayfield, because this is the quarterback that the Browns need. I mean, the Browns could use a guy like Baker Mayfield. The Jets could use a guy like Sam Darnold, by the way.
It's funny.
I mean, but Baker's great. This is what Mike saw in him early on when he said Baker has the goods. It's what I saw in him early on. It went away, but to have this kind of resurgence.
No, but more interesting than that to me is that Cleveland's got they're a quarterback away, and all their money is invested in that particular guy.
Yeah.
Like you've never seen this happen before in the sport. He's been ruined by what he wrought. What came into his life for 2 years because of God knows what he was doing.
Keep an eye on Brady to the Browns. I'm just saying. Yeah,
he had a pretty close-up view. Look, he had a prolific rookie passing season, broke Peyton Manning's records. He then took them to the playoffs and won a playoff game against Ben Roethlisberger's Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. His main sin was that he tried to play through a season with all sorts of injuries that made him a lesser quarterback in Cleveland.
A contract season.
Cleveland, who was starved for what Baker Mayfield gave them, thought that they had all the answers, and they pushed
Odell
him out the
Beckham,
door.
Jarvis Landry win right now. Super Bowl expectations somehow in Cleveland when they've never got playoff expectations.
All of a sudden, they lost their patience after finding what they had searched for decades on end for. So, hate to see it happening to them. They did this. Their front office should be wearing hot dog costumes because they're the reason why they're in this situation.
Well, let's bring in here Katie Nolan, lifelong Patriots fan, because Stugotz, a lot of people were very critical of Tom Brady yesterday. He did the Browns game, Browns-Cowboys, and you know you're not bringing something that's desired when Scott Hansen is on the red zone and there's a 71-yard field goal being thrown out there, and Scott Hansen is saying Tom Brady needs to get more excited about that.
Oh, man.
It's a 71-yard field goal. We can't talk about that like you're a cardboard cutout. I remind you that what Romo was doing, he was giving you a lot of enthusiasm. It wasn't just that he was predicting the plays. You knew he loved football. If there's a 71-yard field goal attempt, we got to get excited about that.
Right.
And so Scott Hansen is reprimanding him.
But what Tony does is he gets excited, and then he asks Nance, hey, Jim, you think he's going to make it?
Okay, but there has to be.
Now Tony Romo cares about someone else's opinions.
No, but it was funny. The Bear was on God Bless Football, and he said that Tony Romo is actually the play-by-play guy, and Nance is the analyst. That's what it's turned into. But I do love Tony Romo. I like unprepared. Brady was too prepared, over-prepared.
Oh,
he was nervous.
Well, this is going to be interesting, and he will get better at this. But let's bring in Katie Nolan now. Katie, what were your general thoughts? I wouldn't even say it was mixed reviews. It seemed like people didn't like Tom Brady his first time out, and I'm sure he hasn't been used to that in a minute.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling that the price tag has something to do with that, because the amount of bad people seemed to think that he was felt to me a little over exaggerated. Was he great? No, it was his first time. Look, as somebody who has sucked in a booth, I know what it sounds like to suck in a booth, and he didn't suck. He was okay. He has a lot of room to grow. Is my personal opinion. Did you like it, Dan?
Very gently. You're being very gentle.
Tony Romo.
I've got to be honest that the Denver 5-3 game put me to sleep, and so I wasn't in an optimal criticizer mood because it just put me to sleep. And so I saw a lot of people commenting about Caden's problems. Chemistry was off. Producers reached out to me saying they could hear him talking to his own producer. He was doing like Greg Cody, not realizing he was on the air and he was just talking to his producers. You can't do that. That's 101. That's amateur.
I think that happened one time. It happened one time. I will say also in his defense, a weird game. There were a couple weird things that happened in this game, and one of them, Kevin Burkhardt, who did fantastic, as did Mike Pereira. So shout out to both of them. But at one point, Kevin Burkhardt was like, "I have never seen anything like this before," and I felt for Tom because that's a crazy thing to have happen your very first time in the booth. So was he perfect? No. I think I'd give him a 7 out of 10 in his overall performance. I didn't think it was awful. I am a little biased. I also, knew I had to come here and talk about it. And I also know that I wasn't particularly well loved when I was in a booth, but I do stand by the best way to learn what a mistake sounds like is to make a ton of them. And so since we are stuck with Tom Brady doing this for 10 years, I have, if you think he might want them, some pieces of advice.
Oh, I would love that.
Yes.
I would love that. Can we put it in a top 5? Would you be kind enough to put into a top 5? Put them in order in your head. Pieces of advice from Katie Nolan. Mike, what is the reaction you've seen? 7 out of 10. I think she is being very generous compared to reaction I have seen. I haven't seen a whole lot of people going higher than that in praise of the Tom Brady performance.
Social media has been pretty judgmental, and I would say let's give him some time. But like Katie said, people are paying attention to how much they're paying him and thinks that doesn't afford him any kind of time.
She's right about that. That is what people are reacting to. You got to be better than Olsen out of the
Greg
gate,
Olsen
and that's
has
hard.
so many allies on social media. It's crazy.
You think Olsen enjoyed that yesterday?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any OLI, Katie? Or are we just going top 5?
We'll just go. We'll do just top 5.
All right.
All right.
We got clips.
Yes. Oh, you've got clips. Wow, you got those together quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. 5.
You're on a heater. This and the Bryce Young song,
Yeah.
Dan?
Top 5
Amazing.
pieces of advice
Crazy.
for Tom Brady in the booth from Katie Nolan. Number
Now,
5.
because I'm remote, I think the cleanest way to do this, I'm going to call for the clip. We'll watch the clip, and then we'll talk about what we just saw. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first clip.
Obviously, there's quality of players in the secondary, but they also have Jordan Hicks at linebacker that they brought over, who's very familiar with Jim Schwartz's scheme. They have Owusu Koromo at linebacker, had a great year last year. So
Oh no! Oh no! Was that a belch?
Yeah. So, okay, pretty clear what the mistake was there. That's a burp sentence, which in certain situations you can just power through. I would argue being in the booth for a football game, not one of those situations. And so my piece of advice for Tom Brady, for a 4:30 start game, big breakfast, okay, maybe a little snack, and then you're eating dinner after the game. Okay, it's very
That's
important.
good advice. Can
I would say burp more. I mean, that's what football fans are doing at home.
Yes, Stugotz, he can be an everyman if he were to do that. But have any of you heard that recently happen on a broadcast? Any broadcast of any kind? A news broadcast? I'm not just talking about in the middle of your Sunday. I'm asking all of you, when's the last time you were listening to something that wasn't this show and somebody was stifling a burp and saying, excuse me? That's not something that happens in professional broadcasting.
Sam Van Gundy kind of does this.
Always.
I think it was Reese Davis and Lou Holtz. I mean,
Okay, number 4.
He sneezed.
That's a strong start at number 5. Number 4, Katie.
Okay, you're numbering these, and I probably should have put them in. But okay, let's go to the next clip.
first drive of the game. Just can't go backwards against this Cleveland defense. It's too hard to make 10 yards. It's really hard to make 20 yards. Again, it's hard to gain 10 yards in the NFL. It's really hard to gain 15 yards. Very, very difficult to gain 20 yards. So going backwards, these penalties, so many of these games that I went into, we figured out, how do you not go backwards? It's hard enough to go forward, but to go backwards and lose 4 yards on this play, in order to go forward, they need to stop from going backward. Just too many negative plays, too many penalties. And
Okay, so this one, maybe I'm nitpicking a little, but I feel like you're allowed to repeat yourself over the course of a broadcast, but it's got to be like an interesting, complex topic that you're repeating. You're repeating it to make sure that the idea gets in people's heads. Saying that it's difficult to get 10 yards in the NFL, I don't think we need to say that more than once.
Right. Plus, it wasn't difficult for him. I mean,
And I guess a lot of people are probably saying, yes, Tom, we know 20 yards is harder to get than 10. Like that's not
15, 20,
well,
25.
and then the next thing you hear is $375 million. It's harder to get $375 million than it is to get $374 million. Katie, number 3.
Okay, let's take a look.
one of those quarterbacks you just can't, one of those cornerbacks you can't be sloppy around, and pretty good throw. Moore just doesn't quite have the length, and Diggs has been a beneficiary of a lot of these overthrown balls. And that's what they're looking for Diggs to return to as well. He's been an interceptor since he came into the league. A couple years ago, he had 9 picks. Unfortunately, tore his ACL last year. This gives him a lot of juice, too. He wants to get right back to the form. He's looking for picks every time. No doubt.
Are we nitpicking? What are we doing? Are we
Picking,
have we got
Okay, that's no, you got to listen to that one carefully. So it was a high impact moment. It was a pick, and Kevin Burkhardt reacted very excited. Tom Brady came in, said interesting things, but was kind of talking like this. And then all of a sudden, at the end, he started to, and to me, it felt like somebody got in his ear.
Energy.
This is just a guess.
Yeah.
That somebody got in his ear and they said energy, energy, and he took the note, so that's good. But he took the note kind of obviously, and that I would say was not good. And so just keep the energy, meet the moment. You know, if something big and exciting is happening, get big and exciting about it. Preferably at the beginning of your sentence, not the end of your sentence.
Katie, this is all very helpful because you are being kind about this, and it's constructive criticism, and I'm sure he'd appreciate constructive criticism. I hadn't noticed what happened there, Stugotz. Like, he is going to have an energy problem if he's got to fake it, right? So, like,
of course, yes.
Like, if he's got a fake enthusiasm because he's seen a lot of football and Bill Belichick ground him to dust, and he's not actually that interested in what he just said.
Plus, all the football he's watching and analyzing pales in comparison to the football he played.
And he's nervous. And let's see clip number 2, because this is actually helpful broadcasting advice. Let's see clip number 2.
I appreciate you noticing that. And I will say this is what I could have. We're going to go to the clip. We're going to let Dan throw to the clip.
Yeah.
We want me to throw to the clip?
You were supposed to. No, it's on Dan. Yeah.
Listen,
You established that she's in charge
Katie,
of the clips.
yeah, my bad. Chris just told me, Chris, I'm going to blame this on Chris
Okay.
again.
Whoa!
He just told me that you're going to throw to me, and I'm going to throw
Hold
the
on,
clip.
Katie.
That's what I got.
Hold on, Katie.
In a segment dedicated to making fun of someone else's broadcasting chops.
Stumbling.
He just got done telling me, Dan, you throw it to the clip. And so I threw it to the clip, and then Katie didn't know I was throwing it to the clip.
First
We got
two were
that intel.
clunky.
Time
We got that
management.
intel.
Yeah.
But he meant throw it to Katie, throw it to the clip.
Katie, did we just play the clip? Let's play the clip.
We
Let's
didn't
throw
play
it to the
it.
clip
Play the
together,
clip.
Katie, while
Let me
criticizing.
throw to it. Let me throw to it.
Someone
Please
go to the
play
penalty
clip.
box.
Chris,
Play the
penalty
clip.
box.
Coach
I'll go
who
for
wasn't
it.
afraid to cuss out his players either.
You did?
I did. I do have a pretty strong feeling on that too, and I look at the NFL and I think, how do you get these superstar athletes that are around so many people in their lives that tell them how great they are all the time? They have agents and they have parents and they have brothers and sisters, and you are in the league and you're a great player, but it's nice to have that accountability from a coach too. And you want to be pushed to your limit. If you're a player in the NFL, someone down with an injury.
Yeah, I got injured Brown on the far side of the
You
field.
want to be a great player. You want to be pushed. You want to be challenged. You want to be criticized. You want to be, hey, you didn't show up to practice today and do the job we needed you to do. And if you don't do it on this day, it's not going to go well on Sunday. And again, I was the beneficiary of a lot of that hard coaching. And I love that you have an old school coach like Zimmer that does it. McCarthy does it. Discipline, accountability are mainstays in any successful organization, and I have no problem with any coaches that feel like they need to tell their players the truth, because just don't get a lot of truth all the time as an NFL player, because you're in the league and you made it and you had a good college career. Well, that doesn't mean anything, and even if you had a good game last week, well, the only way to have a good game the next week is to prepare equally as hard.
Well, it looks like Martin Emerson is up on his own power. That's good for the Browns.
Someone's injured is not the way you have to go there, obviously.
Yeah. So this is interesting because he's saying something pretty interesting. And when he started going on that rant, I was like, oh, they're going to like this. Him talking about basically what his relationship with Belichick was like and how he feels about that approach to coaching. As soon as he said someone's down with an injury here, I was like, okay, so we're going to not be able to listen to this rant. Bummer, but that's how you handle usually an injury. And then he just got more passionate even. So someone's down here, and then Kevin Burkhardt having to put a button on the rant by saying, and good, he can walk. So that's good. So I would say just be mindful of injuries. I also will say, though, that rant that he did get off in that space justifies everything I'm doing in this segment. So do not tell me I'm being mean. He said that you can only get better if you can take some criticism. And I just want to reiterate that I love you so much, Tom, but I'm just trying to help you be better at what you get paid a bunch of money to do.
You're not being mean. I'm being more critical than you are. And as I mentioned, I was asleep during some of the broadcasts. So as a critic, I'm not totally qualified here. I've just seen a lot of criticism. What else do we have? What's the big finale here?
Okay, this is I think the biggest, most egregious thing. This is number 1 or number 5. I don't remember how you were numbering it. Let's go to the clip.
Captain, you can't do that.
Well, do what?
You can't watch football without Tostitos. Get some salsa, too. Jules, you know how to fly this thing?
No.
Tostitos, the official chip and dip sponsor of the NFL.
Gonna need more Tostitos in front.
You gonna go get that?
You get it.
I'm the co-pilot. You get it.
I'm pretty sure we played the wrong clip there while criticizing
That's not the right clip.
Tom Brady. That's good work.
That was a commercial with Edelman.
Yeah, that's good work.
Yeah.
Can we get the actual clip that Katie wanted to throw it to?
What was wrong with that? The smile?
That wasn't. That was
great
just a
chemistry.
commercial. That was not. I don't understand what clip we were supposed to be throwing it to. But if we're going to criticize Tom Brady's broadcasting,
I'm happy seeing his own face makes him smile that way.
Let's play another clip and let's see if we can find the one Katie wants.
So good down there. Every offense wants to run it in, but he's a good pass catcher too. So Cleveland struggled, keep people out of the red zone once they got in there.
Elliott's going to be in the end zone. Touchdown, Dallas.
Okay, so that was kind of it looked bad over here. I don't know if you could hear it. The biggest thing is get in, get out. You got to know what you're going to say, and you need to say it in the little amount of time that you have to say it. It's almost just as valuable to stop talking at the right time as it is to say something interesting. And so in that situation, because he's still trying to figure out how he's going to end his sentence, he's talking while a touchdown is being scored, which steps on Kevin Burkhardt's call of the touchdown, which completely robs the moment of any sort of gravitas. And so get in, get out, Tom. Know what you're going to start saying and know how to get out of it and end it really quickly. And that'll just come with talking more. If I can be honest, you don't talk that much. I don't think I've ever heard you talk that much. And so I think the more you do some talking, the more it's going to click. You're going to be fine. You'll be just fine.
Stugotz, it is interesting and perhaps something you don't consider until you hear it wrong. He's there to accent the game, not to be maximum Tom Brady. And when you get a big call, even Tom Brady's got to stop and get out of the way.
You have to get out of the way. When I did the women's Final Four for lacrosse for ESPN, the guy told me, listen, when a goal's about to be scored, shut up. That's what he told me. Brick. I remember that guy, John Brickman, I think was his name. And I did. I shut up. I was in the middle of telling a story. You got to lay out, even if you're Tom Brady, when someone's about to score and let Burkhardt be Burkhardt, because that's his job. Do you think Burkhardt at any point yesterday texted his friends during the game going, yo, this guy sucks, right?
I doubt it.
Oh, come on. You don't think a single friend texted Burkhardt and said he's making your job more difficult?
I don't think that that's what Burkhardt was doing during the broadcast. I do think Burkhardt's never called a game where he feels quite what he felt yesterday, all in and around that, because you're working with an amateur. And I don't even mean that as an insult. Tom Brady hasn't done this. And what Katie's saying is so gentle, though she did it. When it sounds wrong, you hear it because everyone else is doing it some form of right. Like, so when he's talking over a touchdown, you're like, wait a minute, that's not something I hear on a professional broadcast. That doesn't happen. The touchdown happens. It's the most important thing, not that Tom Brady's talking. But you were very nice to him, Katie. I was less nice. You were very nice to him because a lot of people are beating him up today. So thank you for being a little kinder than most.
Well, that's, my job. I wish people could have been a little bit nicer to me. So maybe next time if I try to go into a booth, we can all just know I know who I am and I was trying to do it different. Back to you.
Smile.
That smile is hiding so much acid. You were so mean to her, people on Apple television. You're so mean to her. Because you were used to your baseball broadcasts and Vin Scully. Yes, that's what happened. I'm used to John Miller. Do you know what you did to that woman? It was so viciously unfair. Rabid and poisonous. Deeply mean and extra masculine. Because she deigned to try and have fun around your sacred baseball.